Okay, in today's video, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to talk about focus. So, as a CEO founder, how do you gain deep focus? And we're going to do that using Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants. So, I'm going to kind of dive into this, right? And we're going to go through the 4 quadrants, but I have a big twist on quadrant number 2. And then I'm also going to show you guys a video from Codie Sanchez, and she kind of takes things a little in a different path, and she wants to focus on a lot of things, but it'll lead to a nice conversation and give you guys some different ideas, on how to run your businesses, how to organize them. So this is for CEO founders, anybody who wants to be more productive. Maybe you've heard of Stephen Covey and the 4 quadrants, but I'm going to dive a little deeper into quadrant 2 and just give you my way of thinking about it. Okay. And before we get going here into the video, my name is Luke Peters. Founded a company in 2001, sold all the way through to 2021. We sold a lot of cool appliances, wine coolers, ice makers, and all these types of things. Started out of my garage, no funding, held all the equity, and then sold to private equity. And we turned it into a national brand and sold for mid 8 figures. So that's my journey. And now I help other CEOs and trying to get them to the exit. And making these videos, hopefully they're helpful and give you guys a different way to think, and I'll just basically share what worked for me. Okay. And I wasn't handed any money to start. So I think a lot of you guys can relate. You're just trying to bootstrap it and figure it out. And that's kind of how I started my business, and the same deal with the businesses I am starting right now. Okay. So let's jump in. I thought this video was pretty interesting. So just want to show you guys. We're talking here about the 4 quadrants.
So fear not, my fellow children of the ADHD, we may make a billionaire out of you yet.
So you can see her different approach here.
Lots of people give me crap because I have a lot of businesses and they say, why, Codie, why don't you focus on one thing? And, it's probably not usually a great idea to argue against billionaires like Gary Keller, who proselytized focusing on one thing and wrote a literal book called The One Thing.
One of my favorite books.
Okay, I get it. But then again, while I love the book and have become buds with his co-author Jay, I disagree mightily. Here's why. I love doing one thing until I get good at it, but I only love it until then. And as soon as I hit competent and then highly competent, I'm in search of the newness. I don't know if you can relate, but that perpetual little itch.
So I think a lot of us can relate, right? she said it really nicely there. She's in search of the newness. Listen, that can be sort of the death nail in our planning, though. So you're running your business, maybe you're not like her and she's got 25 businesses or something like that. I don't know. I think having several businesses is great, but having one business that makes a lot of money is also pretty cool. So that's what we're going to focus on today. I thought, it's always nice to kick these off in with some different perspectives. Okay. So she's got a different way to think about it, but I guarantee you that in order to be successful, she has her own way on how to find her deep focus. And today we're going to talk about Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants. Okay. So I think most of you are probably familiar with it, but if you're not, let's just go through these real quick. So quadrant 1 is, this is your management quadrant. Okay. So it's important and urgent, right? So think about fire drills, think about things you can't not do. But also think about things that pull you the wrong way. Okay. They're urgent. Maybe they're insurance issues or people issues at your work. Those 2 things can really pull us off target, or maybe the reporting, right? Depending on your bank relationship and, say you break covenants and all of a sudden you're doing all this reporting to the bank. They're all super important. They're urgent, but they're not going to, drive revenue long term, right? You're doing things to sort of, keep putting food on the table, keep your, line of credit open, all those things you have to do. You can't not do them. But that's quadrant 1. Okay. So this is, essential for every business owner, but the more of this you can delegate away from you, the better. Okay. Quadrant 2 is where I want to focus, but instead let's just jump to 3 and 4 real quick. Okay. And then we'll jump back to quadrant 2. So 3, these are urgent, but not important. Okay. So, some of these have the illusion of importance, but they're not. These are a lot of interruptions and busy work and meetings that are worthless and sort of not getting you to where you need to be. That's going to fall into quadrant 2 and then into quadrant 3. Quadrant 4 are things you really need to limit. These are the trivial, the wasteful, the entertainment, and so on. Okay. So you want to they're not important and they're not urgent, right? So quadrant 1 important and urgent. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. Quadrant 4, not important, not urgent. So I challenge you all, take a piece of paper out or whatever your best note-taking thing is on. It could be, on the computer, and draw out the 4 quadrants and start putting how much time you spend into each one of these quadrants every single day on average, and what types of things you do. So bottom right, it's going to be, social media, YouTube, blah, 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 a couple hours, right? On the left, meetings, phone calls that didn't move the needle, interruptions. You're trying to be the CEO that's likable and available for everybody, but now you're getting tons of interruptions. So that's 3. Okay, are you spending a couple hours there? And between 3 and 4, are you spending half your day in 3 and 4, right? And then quadrant 1, it's going to be, maybe a couple hours are there. These are important things. It's that bank call you got to take. It could be, it could be some sort of meeting that's, it's important, but it's not long term. And so, everybody spends a couple hours there as well. So now let's talk about quadrant 2. Okay, so this is the game-changing quadrant. This is your long-term planning. The thing is, honestly, I think sometimes this gets the least amount of attention. So I wrote down a couple things that most businesses could plan out for quadrant 2. Literally, most businesses, you may have one big hire you need to make. Do you need a COO? Do you need a CFO? Do you need every year somebody, to lead your sales? Do you need, someone operationally focused? So those are areas where sometimes it's that big hire that's going to make a difference. And oftentimes with the big hire, it's a big time commitment, right? So these are really, really important long-term things for your business that are going to drive it forward, especially as you scale. You need people. So that might be one example. Another one might be that you need to enter new markets. So these are sales goals. Do you just say those, once a month? How often are you talking about your sales goals? Are you having daily sales huddles with your team? Even if it's 5-10 minutes, just boom, get the rhythm going every single day, wins and losses. Make sure your team is bringing wins, and that things are not stagnant, and that make sure they're getting in front of customers. So that can always be on there. And of course, my favorite is like innovate with your product. Okay, so swing for the fences. Too many times, everybody's in quadrant 1. They're hitting singles and doubles. You're doing the things you got to do to move your business forward. You're no longer doing the things you did the first year or 2 of your business when you really innovated, but you've gained a measure of success, and now you're sort of like, you're just kind of chipping away at that success, right? Singles and doubles. Quadrant 2 is for your home run. Those are for your big swings. You're not going to hit them all. That big hire is not always going to work out. That new product release is not always going to work out, but you need to have these things, ready to go. You're always taking a few swings for the fences, because let's face it, most of us are taking a lot of, just easier swings for the singles and doubles. We know we're going to hit those. And the thing is, it doesn't lead to the type of transformational growth you could be getting, and that you're not getting, and that you'll never know that you kind of left behind or left it on the table. Asymmetric risk reward. That's what you're looking for in quadrant 2. Number 1, asymmetric risk reward. Number 2, deep focus. Okay, these are things that are going to take your work as a CEO. You can't delegate these things always in every case. Sometimes you can, but like this is your personal, big task that you need to hit. That's why you're probably involved when it comes to like a big hire or the ideas. Usually the CEO's got the creative force, right? So you kind of coming up with like, hey, we need to try this type of product, or I have a vision for this new SKU or this new category I want to go into. Those are the big game-changing things, and that's what you bring to the company. Don't sort of, shutter yourself from that and think that, as your company grows, you need to be hands off and delegate and don't micromanage. Like, that's the dumbest advice. You need to have leaders and let the leaders lead, but you need to be involved as the CEO. So I always say, don't abdicate. Okay, that's the biggest mistake I've done. Everybody's done it. Don't abdicate your responsibility. If things are falling off, it's your fault. In quadrant 1 and 2, that's kind of where you can hold accountability and keep those goals in front of you. So I hope this was helpful. Listen to a little bit more of what Codie Sanchez has to say here, because I thought it was pretty interesting.
Unknown, the chasing of the squirrel, we're actually wired for that. It makes us happy. It's how we get dopamine hits. It even turns out there's studies that show that newness is good for us. So I don't like this whole idea about the one thing. In fact, I like focusing on many things. But the problem with not doing that is you have to make sure that the one thing you're doing at the time actually works pretty well and keeps doing it even after you're not doing it anymore. Now, you don't have to believe me that diversifying is good for you, and that in fact I think we all absolutely should be. Why don't you believe the Billies? In 2014, there were 1,426 billionaires in the world.
So, anyways, I thought that was pretty good. But she is, making a great point here about diversifying your business. I always see too many business owners, and they're basically, it's 100% them, their business, all their money's in their business. They have no outside because they think they're going to get a better return on equity by investing that money in your business. Like, why would I invest in the market and get 8% when I can get a 30% return on equity in my own company? And that is hard to argue with. But as you scale, as you get bigger, sometimes there aren't even enough investment opportunities, right? And so you have cash just sitting in the bank. Now you're not getting a 30% return or a 30% return on equity because it's just sitting there doing nothing. So yeah, I think about the diversification in a different way than she does. But anyways, guys, I hope this video was helpful, especially the 4 quadrants. If you haven't played around with these, definitely see if you can incorporate these sort of into your, daily way that you organize your life. You can put as much into quadrant 1 and 2 as possible, and then 3 and 4 are reminders of what to get rid of. So I think it's a great house cleaning device. I think if you spend the time to actually fill this out, because I think a lot happens when you write things down. It's totally different than just thinking about things. And, right here, as I'm recording it, we're kind of at year end in December 2024. So if you're really thoughtful about this and write it down and maybe make your New Year's resolution that you're going to cut out a couple of those things in quadrant 4, I think it can make a big difference on your life, not just your business. So would love to hear in the comments if you guys have used these, if you've read any of Stephen Covey's books. Also, if you got anything out of this, like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. It helps me grow this channel. Appreciate it, guys, and have a wonderful day.